Well, the government experiment that Thomas Jefferson started in 1803 ended in 2015 on January 1st, with the very last president of the government called the United States of America of the Republic Nation of French Polynesia, which was previously and precedes the USA government, which is no longer functioning. And there's 20 trillion reasons why it's not functioning. Because for excessive national debt, it is not the burden of the people, and the government that doesn't exist no more cannot and did not put us through that. And Mr. Obama was held accountable for his crimes. I know, I'm the one that did it. I'm the second congressional representative of the people. I'm the only member who doesn't have to be sworn, because I'm the civilian representative, and I represent Thomas Jefferson, who hired them. So, according to the rules, which is the Articles of Confederation and the Declaration, and the New World Order, which is the order that orders them out of our government, and the Secret Journals of Congress, the Treaty of Persia, which I'm the envoy of, and the Constitution, the rules of who can be in the government and how. Well, the political bands have been legally separated. The job that we hired the presidents for was concluded by Mr. Obama. We hired them to receive the next commander. The first commander hired them. All men are created equal, and the most powerful person in French Polynesia, America, is the person who is equal to the first commander, and that's the second commander, E pluribus unum. That's the name that the first Congress chose. So when the government gets out of hand, that's the only person that they can trust, is somebody who knows how to change their representation and become Mr. Obama's legal boss and fire him. He had 175 violations of the Constitution, and you can Google that. And you can Google a lot of things. You just have to say it the right way. Because, see, Google is the CIA. And YouTube is the CIA. And 92 AM radio is the CIA. And the CIA is everywhere, but guess what? They're not in the Constitution. And neither are the Republicans. Or the Democrats, because they're both belong to the same party. So, the Constitution canceled the election when I took away the electoral votes from Mr. Obama. And how did I do it? Representation. Mr. Obama isn't for the people. So therefore, he wasn't legally obligated to that 10 trillion that he stole. Therefore, he stole it, and we can't do nothing to him. But I did impeach him on May 9th, 2016, and they had a phony fake impeachment of some lady in Puerto Rico, which is supposed to represent us, but it doesn't. So what happened was, Mr. Obama lost the job contract, on one hand, because he breached the Declaration, which allowed me to come to power legally and legally intercede stopping the election. But on the other hand, he completed the mission. Hired to receive the next commander, that's what Mr. Obama did. And he did it in a video called Mr. Obama Rants for 10 Minutes. And he explains how all the chairs in the government got condensed all the way down to one chair that I'm sitting in. So the first seat of government was temporary. It was created by the supreme legislative branch of the nation. And the two temporary branches of the executive power and judicial power, they were taken away. The government shall govern at the consent of the governed. Well, I represent the governed, and I took away your consent. And the First Amendment, all the amendments, the whole Constitution is not about you, and you don't have any rights, and you don't have anything in the Constitution. If you're not sitting in one of the three chairs of the power structure of America, then you can't say jack shit, because you don't have any rights anyway. But what you do have is $10,000 a month that Donald Trump don't want you to have. And the Republicans are having a media coup, and they've been having it ever since they sat on the floor last summer. But I'm the one that made them sit on the floor. And I represent every person and every vote, and I represent the floor. Which means Donald Trump is not the president. The election was fake. He knows good and well that Mr. Obama was the last president. He completed the mission on one hand, but on the other hand, he breached the contract. And the Declaration is a personal contract between somebody whose name is e pluribus unum and whoever the president is that breaches the contract. So, you can bet your sweet ass for $220 trillion, $223 trillion. That's the total, I do believe, of money that was took and that wasn't covered. Bush sent us from 5 trillion to 10 trillion, and Mr. Obama sent us from 10 trillion to 23 trillion. So, where did that money go? England. Yeah, Mr. Trump represents England. We beat these invaders when they invaded us in 1776. And when we beat them in 1787, they signed the Constitution. It's a contract. And it's a treaty. Right? So, you invaded our land. Hey, you can't invade our government. And they all signed a thing called the Declaration of the Independence from the people that we hire to represent us who don't and steal. So, Donald Trump is not the president. There's not a single person in this nation that can prove that he's a president or he's eligible to be a president. But Rule 44 of the House, a nonprofit organization, the USA.gov.org. Thomas Jefferson created everything, and his rule of the NPO says that the nonprofit organization is private. And the IRS says that you cannot get voted into a private organization that you're not a part of, Mr. Trump. So, Washington, D.C. got closed. Jefferson, D.C., the 10 square mile district, it abolished Washington, D.C. And then, the power of the government, the seat of government is the second seat of the people, which created the first seat of the temporary government. Hired once every 4 years, these two men are called a militia. And this militia is supposed to be well regulated, which means every 4 years you have to be for the people, or you can't get voted for. But see, our government got overthrown, and they taught everybody the wrong thing. And now you all think this, but you know what? It's that, not this. So like I said, if you don't sit in one of the three chairs, it doesn't matter. There's the employer, the president pro tempore of the nation. All right? He hired two temporary presidents, the second seat and the third seat. And he put them in the second chair and the first chair. He put them in the first seat. A seat is a 10 square mile district. All right? It's not a chair. But the second chair of non-authority is in Washington. And that's where Trump is. And guess what? He has no authority. Because that chair is just for him. Because it's useless. It's meaningless. And a system based on representation, I represent every person in every vote. Therefore, we have a unicameral Congress like we had before. One chamber, one person. And Tip O'Neill says in a book called The Keys to the Constitution, he says that we used to have a unicameral government, and it was way more efficient than what we have now. Because see, the whole political system is designed to take the money that's made. And the people in the corporate business, they don't pay taxes. And you don't lower corporate taxes, you raise them. So the new tax law was everybody will pay 1/3 of their profit of their company, business, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, corporations, trans corporations. If you are in our nation and on our land and in one of our buildings that we, the people, own, you have to pay 1/3 of your profit to the people, because the new government is a trust fund. But the old government was a private non-profit organization. So the rules of the presidents was one election in the fall, and the contestants must be by and for the people. And the two that get the most votes become the president and the vice president, because they're the best two who are for the people. So is Donald Trump for the people? Wrong. He's not. Does he represent the people? No. Can he tax the people? No. Can he do anything? No, because you know where he's at. You voted him into the old closed government illegally, but he's still there. And he has no power. He has no authority. Money doesn't get you into the presidency anymore. The 13th Amendment from 1825 that they tried to burn down Washington and the Library of Congress to ruin these records of the things that I'm talking about right now, they failed. And they lost. And they lost again. Because the Democratic Republican Party has been listed in the public domain since they lost the war in 1787. Has against the people and against the nation. Right? And unauthorized to be in our government. And then these guys think that war is a political extension, but you know what? Politics are not allowed in our government. That's why there's a political ban. It's not a travel ban. It's not an immigration ban. It's a political ban. And Donald Trump needs to get his ass on the road and out of the closed district. But Jefferson's District of California, a 10 square mile area, was created by the Constitution from the same like authority. All right? That's what it says. And then I am the executor of the contract. See, the Declaration is a job, position for one citizen who knows that our government has been overthrown. But see, I know because they bought the gun off of my great-grandfather that shot Lincoln. And that's when they overthrew our government. They put the nation in fear. Right? And then all of a sudden, bam, there's these two parties. But you know what? You can't change the Constitution. I mean, you could try, but once the future guardian of justice, the future safeguards for our protection is somebody who wasn't born yet. That's why they signed up for the deal. A nunc coepidus means that they agree upon the undertaking of this experiment of democracy, which failed. Because see, what is democracy? Democracy is no politicians. And Thomas Jefferson predicted that that's what would happen. Okay? So, the first government was an experiment that went wrong because we got overthrown by the people that aren't allowed to be there. So, the only right you have is to overthrow your politically overthrown government. Everything in the Constitution, it's about the people who signed the Declaration. Thomas Jefferson made them sign the New World Order first, and it's on the back of the dollar bill, right? And it says on the horizontal lines, you got to be a genius to read it. But anyway, it says, I send you a man named Mr. E pluribus unum, and if done on his own, he is by and far the only one out of the many, and many means public, to represent me. And then he says that I am Thomas Jefferson. He signs the New World Order, and then he says, do it, America, and it says 44. So rule 44. And then it says that E pluribus unum is the second ambassador. So, all men created equal. The chosen one is the one who becomes the living Constitution. That's what Thomas Jefferson said, that the Constitution will become a living reality. And then in the Citizens' Constitution, Teddy Roosevelt said that the Republic nation needs a live representative for them to be able to do anything. So, Thomas Jefferson left his seat open. Well, his seat is a 10 square mile federal district, a place that shall have been created. And that's part of my duties. So it's your right and your duty to overthrow them and throw them back. But back to where? So, you throw them back to the second and third seat of non-authority. So the supreme legislative branch created the lower two branches and the job of the presidents for specific rules and specific things. So excessive national debt, Mr. Obama is the last president, and for $20 trillion, Trump's not the president, all right? And no one can say otherwise or prove otherwise. And there's nothing that anybody can say or do. Because, see, the government is a process. It's not an establishment, and it's not an administration. And Donald Trump has no authority. He has media. See, they knew I was coming because I beat them a long time ago, and I told them what was up in 1992. And then in 2008, I defeated them in their own courtroom with their own rules. I found the court system to be unconstitutional. So since